Thank you. Good afternoon, Pathfinders. Like what Pastor has just said, I think I'm coming from the moon, as you can see, from our galaxy, and so I am traveled. I trust we have all eaten today, and we need food. We do need to eat, and we do eat daily. And I hope we'll spend the next few minutes or couple of minutes going through what we need to understand more when it comes to how we eat and what we eat. So I hope you enjoy. So digestion.
Just before you proceed, for those of you who are just joining us, in case you're looking for information on the worksheet on this honor and anything else, please look above the chat. You will see the link to the British Union Conference website where you can download the worksheet and follow along. Thank you. Back to you, Patience.
Thank you. So for the digestion honor, you also need to have covered a nutrition honor. So that gives you a better understanding. But don't worry, if you haven't done it, you can still go and do it. It's quite interesting information. But we are going to be looking at digestion and looking at the digestive system, as you can see over on the diagram there. So for us to understand digestion, we need to understand the human anatomy. And as we can see, as we start from the mouth and back down, as we go through the stomach and all through the intestines until we reach the exit. So what goes in has to come out. And so if we remember that, but what is it that we eat? How can we manage digestion, or what do we look at? So basically, what we eat determines what happens with our bodies. Our bodies needs maintenance, and we need to eat food every day, and sometimes 3 times a day, for some people even a little bit more. Here is, if you have downloaded the worksheet, you will find it requires you to look at a record of what you eat. What did you eat today? How much water did you drink? Did you eat fruits yesterday? Today? Are you sure? Oh, how much do you eat every day? We are going to look at the food pyramid, and we're also going to double check if you exercised yesterday. Of course, I'm not expecting for you to have exercised today, but it's also good to have walked, because the body needs all that for nourishment. So just remember that. So why should we write food diaries, or why should we keep a record of what we eat, or why should we be conscious? A food diary is where we keep records of food that you eat daily, on a meal-to-meal basis, on a weekly basis, and it can include dietary information, and sometimes it helps when things go wrong. If you go to the doctor and the doctor is saying, oh, by the way, what have you been eating? If you have no record of what you've been eating, it becomes a bit difficult. But a food diary allows you to organize and track foods by their food groups. And if you know your nutritional requirements, then you can actually make sure you plan your meals and do it accordingly. A diary allows you to monitor what, when, how often you eat, and how much you eat as well, and whether some of it is dead food or some of it is very nutritional. So make it a habit to keep a food diary. What can you write in a food diary? You can write about everything. Don't worry, it doesn't matter whether small or large, just write it. and do it as you go, and then you will have a better diary. Be specific, record your food exactly as how you eat it. If it's a boiled potato, write it like that. If it is fried, write it as well that way, because it matters how it's been prepared or how you've taken it. Then it makes a difference in terms of diet and what nutrients you will get. Estimate the amounts wherever you can and record everything you eat each day, but keep it simple. So for that requirement, the owner requires you to keep a diary for 2 weeks. It's not much difficult, just try it, and it's quite exciting. I tried it at some point, and I know some people underestimate what they eat when they come to the doctor, and they will say, oh no, I don't eat really much. And we know always when someone says, I just eat a plate, it means they have taken a double portion. But luckily, we've just been learning about social media. We can use the apps as well to help us to maintain the diaries. So there's some apps that I've put for you there that can help you to maintain a food diary. MyFitnessPal, Calorie Counter, See How You Eat Food Diary, and MyNet Diary. I've used the MyFitnessPal. It works quite well, as long as you put the exact stuff. Okay, moving on. What can I put on my plate? Fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and some dairy. Yeah, questionable over the other side, but nevertheless, as you can see, the portions of vegetables and fruits in those proportions would make your daily provision very well. So you just need to be mindful of that. If you're not eating many vegetables, you need to increase. Your vegetables need to be bigger and need to be the similar size with your grains. And here on this side, we see the food guide or the pyramid. It gives you the amounts, and as you can see from the pyramid, you pick foods. At the top there, they're the foods that you should use sparingly. The fats, the oils, the sweets, try and reduce them as the pyramid shows. As you go down, increase the vegetable portions, 3 to 5 servings daily, and or even more, because we get most of our vitamins and most of our nutrients from there. And then we go down to the grains, making sure these grains, the grains need to be wholesome and not refined, because the super refined ones, they've got an impact on our digestion as well. Some carbohydrates, but as you can see, there are different types over there. As you look, if I take, for example, some cereal, at times you might be better off just getting it directly from the grains themselves before you get to this one. The reason being, this has been processed, and it has been processed twice. As well as when you look at the pasta, this has been processed. We get it, we get it from the wheat, and then the wheat is processed into flour, but then the flour is further processed to make the pasta. So that's a double processing. So some of these, just consider them before when you're picking them. So when you're looking at the food pyramid, just make sure you choose correctly. Right, so we have, like we've talked about what we put on the plate, but we have some essential nutrients that we need for life. And in order for us to survive, we need some carbohydrates. But as I was saying, we need the carbohydrates that are good. We need carbohydrates that are natural more than we need the ones that have been processed. So be mindful of that. We need proteins. And yes, we can argue the non-vegetarian, the vegan, whatever it is. But the more natural proteins we have, the much better. And fats, we do need fats because they give us the energy when we are running, when we are working out, when we are exercising. We need to burn the fat in order for us to get enough energy. When you are exercising, the heart needs the fats so that it can have quick energy. So we need a proportion there. And the vitamins, just something on the vitamins there that you need to bear in mind and remember. Vitamins, most of them are not stored. So remember that. If they're not stored anywhere, you need to keep topping them up. The minerals, we also get them from fruits, vegetables, and the plants that we eat. So they also need to be topped up. I like the last essential nutrient of life. It's water. We'll talk more about it as we go towards the end. So watch this space. Right, the human body or the digestive system, as I said, it starts from the mouth and ends at the anus over there. And the main functions of the digestive system is to make sure that food that we chew, we take in as a solid, as a liquid, whatever we take in is mechanically digested, and then it's chemically digested, and then the body is able to absorb all the nutrients and utilize them. So digestion is that process that begins by breaking the food down and into smaller molecules that the body can use and the body can absorb, and then the body absorbs the molecules and converts it to what the body can utilize in terms of glucose, and then the waste material is taken out through the anus. So we're going to go through the system as a whole, but we will take the important parts of the digestive system. So, as we start, as we can see, we start from the mouth, and the mouth is an instrument that we use a lot of times, and it works for different things. And in simple terms, when you pick out your plate of food, whether you use a spoon, you use a fork, you use your hands, you use a cup, whatever you take in is first dealt with in the mouth and then moved down the digestive system, and then it goes down, the body takes what it wants, and the rest is thrown out. And so the digestive system, the other name that is called is the GI tract, or the gastrointestinal tract. The names can be used interchangeably, so don't stress yourself. So you can say the GI tract, or you can say the digestive system. It all means the same thing. And so you'll have the mouth and what we find in the mouth which is the teeth, the glands, and then you swallow the food, it goes down into your stomach via the esophagus, and then in the stomach there's more digestion over there. So if you look on the slides for the owner, you will find more functions of the organs that aid in digestion there. And from the stomach, we have these other associated organs that also help in digestion. We'll cover them in details in a few minutes. Then we find the small intestines, the rectum. So that's more the digestive system as a whole. So let's start from the mouth. In the mouth, we do have the tongue, the teeth, and the saliva. But what is important, or what helps in digestion, is the teeth themselves. They help to grind the food. So that's the mechanical digestion. They help to grind the food. And as you grind the food in your mouth, you mix it together with the saliva. And saliva is one important thing. It contains an enzyme that is meant to help to digest all carbohydrates or starch that we eat. And we mix it together with the food. We break it down. We break down the beans. We break down the meat. We break down the chicken, the KFC, whatever you name it, the pizza that we eat. It's broken down and it becomes a little ball or a lump. And then that is sent down your throat into the stomach. So we look at saliva. That's the first one that aids digestion. That is the spit as we know it. It's slimy. At times it can be frothy, but it produces an enzyme that is called salivary amylase, which is produced by the glands that sit just behind our throats there. This moistens the food so you can swallow it easily, and it contains that enzyme that I talked about that breaks down all the carbs and is broken down into sugars, maltose and dextrin. Don't worry about it. If you forget the names, check your worksheet, check the worksheets. They all have that in the slides. So the saliva protects our teeth from decay. It neutralizes acids from the sugars that we eat from the food, and then that protects our teeth. Saliva helps repair damaged crystals of tooth and protects the enamel through remineralisation. So basically, in simple terms, the saliva helps to moisten our mouth, helps to protect the tooth. So let's look. Did you know that all enzymes are proteins? And if enzymes are proteins, and for those that haven't started studying biology, here is a tip. All enzymes are proteins, and proteins are very, very, very specific. Mark this word. So whenever you are eating, remember that. Proteins are specific and they work as an aid or a catalyst. They help to facilitate some reactions in the stomach, in the digestive system of the food that we eat. So important point, when you eat your food, remembering the enzyme is quite specific. I'm very specific. There's certain things that I don't want to eat in a certain way, or certain things that I don't want to do. And if you ask me, it's either you have to force me like a life and death thing for me to do it. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do it. So enzymes also work in that way. If the environment is not right, if the temperature is not right, if the chemical temperature is not good, they do not work. They stop functioning. They cease to work. So remember that one when you're having your pizza and you want to have a cup of tea, you might be stopping the enzyme in your saliva to work well. And also maybe for you guys, you might not be drinking a cup of tea, but perhaps you'll be having a soda, a Coke, or a fizzy drink. Yes, it might affect the way the enzyme works. So bear that in mind. If the temperature is low, the enzyme is deactivated. At higher temperature, the enzyme is literally destroyed. So think again before you alter your temperature while you are eating. Therefore, more time will be taken for the enzyme to digest the starch at lower or higher temperatures. Or if the temperatures become too high, it might even stop in the end. The enzyme salivary amylase that we find in our spit is specific. It works at around 37 degrees or between 36 and 37 degrees, our normal body temperature. And at that temperature, its digestion starts right on point. So remember. So let's just look at what the teeth do, or how the teeth are structured. I've got a diagram for you in the there's a diagram for you in the worksheet that you need to label. So just remember this. And if you get stuck, look again at the presentation slides, and you will have all the information. So if you think of your teeth, that nice, shiny, smooth, glossy, slidey part, that is the enamel that's outside the tooth and is the hardest substance that is part of the human body. And then we have the dentin, which rests between the enamel and the cementum. And then we have the pulp, which is in the center of the tooth and is made up of living tissue. We have gum tissue, which we find surrounding the roots of the tooth and covers the jawbone. And then we have a cementum, and that is a specialized bony substance covering the root of your tooth. You know, when people say, oh, I'm having a toothache, it's probably because the sugars, what we've been eating, what we've been doing has gone down and damaged the roots. And then down there we have the membrane, the periodontal membrane. This is the this is the tissue between the tooth and the socket that holds it in place. So you find the structure of a tooth is protective from outside. By the time you start feeling pain, you have literally damaged your tooth, and you might need it to have it removed, or else you'll be in severe pain. So look after your teeth. Make sure you always brush your teeth after food, because it's the food that damages the teeth, and we need our teeth for digestion. Okay. Right. So that's the diagram of the tooth we were looking at. Look at it again. If you get lost somewhere, please just refer back to it. And there is a question in the worksheet that asks you to identify that. So our food has moved from the mouth. It's been mechanically digested by the teeth. It's been mixed with salivary amylase. It comes into the stomach. And this is how our stomach looks like. So you see all the nice folds that is there, which is called the rugae. And it's meant to provide extra surface area where food can be mixed and then nutrients absorbed.
Just to let you know, Master Guide patients, I've got somebody just posted here to say, I had an exam on this. I presume they were doing biology and they were quizzed on the stomach. All right. Okay, back to you.
Oh, brilliant. It's quite interesting to know what we are carrying as well. I hope you did well in that exam. And it's also good to know what we're carrying and how it works. So then if we know how it works, we know how to look after it correctly. So we have the related organs that sit around the stomach. That's the liver, which secretes some bile into the small intestines. And then we have the gallbladder. It's just a reservoir. It's a reservoir, but it's quite important. It releases the bile when it's needed, whenever you start eating. And just bear that in mind for those that love chewing gum. For those that love chewing gum. So when you chew gum and you chew, the body is thinking, there is food coming into the stomach and it's ready. It starts producing the enzymes, it starts producing all the digestive juices and directs them to the stomach. And then nothing goes down except a trickle of saliva with sugar. And all these organs have already released their juices into the stomach. That is a recipe for disaster. It sends down, the stomach releases the acid, the gallbladder sends down the bile, and the liver has secreted it because there is a message saying we are eating. And no wonder when people say, oh, I have got stomach ulcers. It's what we have done over the years, how we have been eating and how we have been treating our body. And that gives room for these things to happen. So bear that in mind as you chew gum. I know we love chewing gum. And then we have the pancreas. The pancreas also just secretes more enzymes into the small intestines, and these help in digestions. And so these two organs, they secrete fluids that help in digesting fats and digesting all the nutrients that we take. So those are the organs that I've been talking about. As you can see, that's the liver over there, nice and big. It sits nicely on onto your side, just under the ribs, and it's right under your right side there. And in the middle of the liver, you find the gallbladder, which is that reservoir space. And then, as you can see, they all go and drop their juices into the GI tract. So everything all comes there. And then there's the pancreas there. It's nicely shaped, and the pancreas does provide all the insulin, does work at all the nutrients that we get. And that is a very important organ, and we need to look after it well, because once if you damage this organ, you end up suffering from diabetes. If you damage this organ, it becomes difficult to balance your sugars in the body. So remember that and look after your organs very well. So that's that bit there, and they're just organs that support the digestive system. So as we have said, as we start, when we do mechanical digestion, the food is put into a bolus and the bolus goes down. But so a bolus is any large quantity of food that just makes its way through the GI tract. Whereas the chyme is the liquid that comes out from the stomach now, because as you eat your chunk of food, goes into the stomach, it mixes with one of the world's strongest acid that our bodies have, and that is found in the stomach. But it doesn't damage us if it stays in there. It only becomes a problem if it goes out of there without having food, and it mixes with the food and brings out a liquid substance. And this is mostly partially digested food, water, and that's the acid that our bodies produce, the hydrochloric acid and other digestive enzymes. So that's the difference. That one is a question in your worksheet, so remember that. And the bile, we said it's reserved in the gallbladder. Is that if you have ever taken a liver, or I grew up getting preparing chicken, and if you're not careful when you get the chicken liver, there is the gallbladder there with its reservoir, and if you do not remove it or handle it correctly, it's got this bitter greenish yellowish fluid that if it goes into the meat, it spoils the whole thing. And yeah, you don't need to be And that's exactly, again, when if someone says, I'm having heartburn, that's what you feel. It's that bitter, and if you were to vomit and you have not eaten, the stuff that would come out would be a greenish yellowish fluid, which is full of bile. And bile is thrown into the stomach whenever there's a message from the mouth that there is food coming. So whenever we start eating, our body is ready for that. So bear that in mind. It is stored, the bile is stored in the gallbladder and is delivered into the duodenum in response to meals, where it aids the process of digestion of fats. Right, so we're moving on to the small intestines over there. I put them in color so that we can see them more clearly. So the light blue there, that's the duodenum. And then we have the jejunum, and then we have the ileum. These are all part of the small intestines. The small intestines are responsible for the liquid food. And so we have had our food, it's left the stomach, and there's a sphincter over there at the end of the stomach that pushes food, that opens up and allows food down as we eat. And it goes down through all these channels, and it just takes its time to travel. And let's do some quiz questions. I've been talking enough. Let's answer some questions here. So Mancini and Pastor, if you could help me with the answers across. What size do the villi increase the surface area of the small intestines by? A, is it by a dinner plate, by a dining table, or a tennis court?
Okay, I've got a very quick answer here. Tennis court from Bless and Nathaniel. Somebody said B, by a tennis court. Another says A, by a dinner plate. Then another one says B. So we've got a mixture of answers, A, B, and C.
Oh, wow. Okay. The correct answer is they increase the surface area of the small intestines by the size of a tennis court.
Yeah, I think that's the majority of the answers that we're receiving on the chat as well.
Awesome. What that means is that our small intestines are very big, even though they are compacted. How long are the small intestines? 3 meters, 6 to 7 meters, or 10 meters?
Okay, B, that's the first one, B. 10 meters, one says, another B or C. So, B or C, so that's what, someone is saying here.
So it looks like it's a mixture on the B and the C. But yeah, I think people are leaning more towards the B answer.
Okay, so the answer is B, which is about 6 to 7 meters, depending on how tall a person you are. But yes, we carry 6 to 7 meters of small intestines. I'm not counting the large intestines. I'm just looking at the small intestines. And
quite a few people got that right on the chat, and Derek Anthony got it right on Facebook.
Oh, brilliant. Well done. Well done. So we have the small intestines, which is just 6-7 meters, which get to be enlarged to be the size of a tennis court. And that is to help with absorption. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. So what is the villi? They're tiny finger-like structures that protrude from the walls of the small intestines. They provide this surface area and they are filled with blood capillaries so that the body can absorb everything that you eat. And then there are also enzymes on their surface that aid digestion. And these have been added. Remember, we have got those organs that have been adding all the extra things. And they have very thin wall for quick absorption of fatty acids and glycerol into the bloodstream. So I did an experiment, and this was on your worksheet. It asks if we can compare the absorption of water on a plain paper and a paper towel. So I measured about 25 mils of water and put them in 2 beakers, and I took a plain paper and a kitchen paper towel, and I poured on the water on each paper, and I will show you what happened in the next few slides. And as you know, the plain paper is quite nice and smooth, the one that we use for printing and writing, but the paper towel is bumpy, and the bumps in the paper towel are kind of something that you can relate to the villi. That increases the surface area of the paper towel, and it increases the absorption capacity of it. So as you will see on the next slide, so this was what I did. I took the 25 mils, exact same amounts, and I took a plain yellow paper and a kitchen paper towel with its bumps. And then lo and behold, so that's the 25 mils on the plain paper. This was immediately, and that's on the kitchen towel. This was right after I had poured it. And that was about 10 minutes later. As you can see, the kitchen paper towel is all, has absorbed all the water, and there's no water, but the water is not going anywhere here. I actually used the paper towel to wipe away the water from the yellow paper. So as you can see, that's how our intestines work. And because of the villi that they have, our bodies is able to absorb all the nutrients and to utilize it. So we move down to the next section of our GIT system, which is the large intestines or the colon. And we'll also look at what happens with the water. Remember, we have a liquid chyme that has come from the stomach into the large intestine, into the small intestines. And now, by the time it's reaching the large intestines, it's still in a semi-liquid form, but the colon does further absorption of nutrients, and it also absorbs the water that has been in the food, in the chyme. But when the colon absorbs insufficient water, and you end up with that liquid chyme, and it comes out as liquid, that's where we have loose bowels or loose stool. So it comes out as liquid. It's because your intestines have not absorbed the water. So the colon, when it absorbs the water, it leaves the remaining material as a semi-solid stool, which is nice and easy to pass, and it should come out easily. But if the colon is damaged or inflamed, it stops this, and that's where you have that watery stool. So remember that question in your worksheet. And the next one is, so this just shows you the diagram of the large intestines or the colon. So we have an ascending colon, a transverse colon, a descending colon, a sigmoid colon, and out through the anus. And through this colon, water is reabsorbed and sent to the kidneys or sent to wherever it's needed. And you have your nice soft stool, which is not difficult to pass. And if you're finding it difficult to pass, then there might be problems. Either you're not drinking enough, or there is something wrong with what you are eating. So we might need to look at your diary. If the colon has got little water, it results in constipation. When you go into the toilet, it shouldn't take you 5 minutes. It should be nice and easy and flawless. If it's difficult, you might need to look at how much water you're putting in your body. And this also helps in terms of the smooth passage of stool from our bodies. It's fiber. Fiber helps to prevent high cholesterol. It helps to fight obesity. It reduces the risks of diseases, but it helps to move the waste around the system, and it prevents you straining when you go to the toilet. So you need to eat more fiber. How do we get more fiber? By eating the right foods, by eating foods that are rich, that are whole grain, and by eating fruits and vegetables. They have more fiber. Food stays in your stomach for 30 minutes to 2 hours. And then it takes about 2 to 6 hours in the small intestines, and then about 6 to 72 hours in your colon. Any food that stays too long in the colon results in constipation, because the colon then takes out all the water. And if food stays too long in the stomach, it ferments and you have a buildup of gas. And that can lead to heartburn and all the problems that comes with a problem of eating.
Okay. Go ahead, finish your sentence. Just want to comment on something.
Okay, I was gonna say, if the food is delayed in coming out of the stomach for too long, it can move forwards, backwards, upwards, and you end up with heartburn, and you end up with irritation that comes from the bile, and the bile is not meant to stay in the stomach. So it damages the stomach and causes the ulcers that some people will complain of. Yes, Pastor.
Thank you. Just to let you know, you've got 12 minutes, but there's a question here and a comment. Is gum good for your health, or is it just to keep yourself busy? And then earlier on, somebody was commenting, was saying she's a dietitian, or he's a dietitian, says, as a dietitian, I have to explain how gum affects digestion. If you have to chew gum, it should be done for a short period after a meal. Thank you for mentioning that. So true regarding bile. Okay.
Thank you. So what was the first question?
The question was, is gum good for your health, or is it to keep yourself busy?
I think the latter part of the question answers it. It's not really, because it's just sugar. What we need for our body, we need the carbs, not the sugar, to maintain the nutrients for our bodies. So just carrying on there with the last few minutes we're almost done. So if the food stays in the GI tract, we can end up with problems. There's fermentation, there's toxicity, there's constipation, there's reflux, and then there's heartburn. So whatever we eat, how we eat it, and if it stays too long, we are bringing more problems for ourselves. So we do need to remember what we do. I've got this interesting lesson, and it's also available. It's also on the worksheet. It talks about the digestion of starch, and I've put the link on this slide. But the digestion of starch starts in the mouth, where the salivary amylase mixes with the food and then produces maltose and dextrin. And then as it goes down the GI tract, it's turned into, the sugar is absorbed by the body, and utilized by the liver. So that's the process. But there's a nice experiment that we can look at online. If you look at that, it shows you how it is done. But basically, if we were to do it, you would need iodine, you'd need some carbohydrates, you chew them, and then you mix with your saliva, and then you take it out into a test tube and add iodine. And then in the other tube, you put the same carbohydrate that you haven't mixed with saliva, and then you add iodine. So you would find that the one where you have chewed, it will turn brown. And where you haven't chewed, it will turn brown. But the one where you have chewed and mixed with saliva, it will turn purple, because when iodine reacts with sugar, it turns purple. So that's just to show you, when you're eating, you need to thoroughly mix your food, especially the carbs, so that it can be digested, because the digestion starts in the mouth. And we look at monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. These are just carbohydrates, but the most important one of them all is the one that is the simplest form, and that is the monosaccharide. So it's just the structure of sugar that you find in a carbohydrate, and if it has one component, is the original sugar. So we'll have the whole grain, the legumes, some vegetables, fruits, and honey. They are just ordinary. They have not been added, they have not been worked at. And then you find disaccharides. Now these have been worked at. So you find sucrose, lactose. These are all products that have now been processed to make extra sugars, and that's what you find on your chewing gum as well. So you have all these complex sugars that are now disaccharides, or even more polysaccharides, with preservatives, with other lots of things. So the best one is the simplest form of carbohydrates. So whenever when you're planning your meals, plan them correctly. Some examples of the carbohydrates, or the good carbohydrates. And you can look at them on your slide, on your worksheets. And right, just while we're looking at that, let's also look at amino acids. Amino acids are more or less like proteins, but then they're proteins, but they are essential in how the body builds up proteins. So, and we have about 20 of them. Don't worry, we are complex beings. We have 9 of them that are essential amino acids, and these are required for protein synthesis. Otherwise, the protein won't be utilized correctly by our bodies. And these 9 amino acids are found in they're found in food that we eat. And their names are interesting. They are mouthfuls: histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. But if you get lost, just go back to the slides. What this all says, it proves we are complex beings. We are made in a very special way. The Lord created us in a very complex way. He made us, and he created us specific. And so we need to look out after our bodies quite well. There's the essential amino acids. We find them in food and milk and dairy products, some eggs, fish, meat, and poultry. And if you do not eat meat, if you're vegetarian or vegan, like I am sometimes, you can also find them in plant foods. So don't worry, you're not left out. Corn, peas, beans, lentils, they all have the amino acids. There's something that is interesting that happens in our bodies, and there is a word, there is a word that is so long and people decide that they just use the abbreviation ATP. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. This is just a vehicle or a car that transports energy around the body. And all the energy that our body cells uses is supplied by ATP. ATP is not something that you find running loose. It's made by some chemical reactions that happen in the body. And one of them is called glycolysis, and the other one is called the Krebs cycle, and the last one is called oxidative phosphorylation. Yeah, they are mouthfuls, I know. However, it goes on to emphasize that we are fearfully and wonderfully made as you look at the complex processes that takes place. That's what ATP looks like, or that vehicle, or that car, or transporter. That's what it looks like. And just don't worry about the diagram. Just know about what is requested. In your worksheet, they just want you to name what it is and what it is used for, and what the chemical reactions that come from it, that help to make it. So those are the processes explained in detail, but you do not need to write the whole paragraph. Just make sure you understand it, and this does not require oxygen, and it produces about 4 of the ATP. However, it uses 2 of those and just leaves out 2. The Krebs cycle, it's involved in the conversion of carbohydrates, the fats, the proteins that we eat, and it produces usable ATP energy as well. And then the last process uses the remainder of the chemical that's produced from the Krebs cycle and produces more ATP. And as I've said, ATP is what is the vehicle that carries all the energy that is needed by the body. So if you go around and see the power lines, that is exactly what ATP does. It carries the energy around the body. Oxygen is not required for the first process. However, the other processes require oxygen. So remember, whenever if you're feeling in pain, do try and breathe. Your body requires the oxygen to process all these reactions or chemical reactions taking place. And if you take some nice deep breaths, you take the pain away. So we need to breathe oxygen to supply these processes. We have some vitamins that are essential nutrients in our bodies. We are almost finishing. We're just left with 2 questions. So just bear with me. We're getting there. Water-soluble vitamins, it means they dissolve in water and the body expels what it does not need at the time. It just takes what it needs at the time. The rest is thrown away. So you can't say, I ate fruits last week, so you need to eat more fruits. And you can't say, I ate vegetables last week, because you need to eat them every day, because most of our vitamins are water soluble. So just so you know, there is 8 vitamin Bs, B1, B2, B3, B5, B7, B6, B9, B12, and vitamin C. These are all water soluble. So they are not stored in our bodies. Excess is secreted in urine, so we need to top them up daily. Then we have the fat soluble vitamins. These are vitamin A, D, E, and K. These are happy to stay for a while in our bodies. Some can stay for a few days, and some can stay up to 6 months. They are stored in the liver and they're stored in fat tissues, but they can also cause toxicity if they are in excess. So you need to bear in mind how much you eat of that. Otherwise, they will be stored and they can cause problems for your body. So when we're looking at digestion, There's some Bible texts that talk about digestion. We find one interesting one in Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 2. Then he said to me, Son of man, eat this scroll I'm giving you and fill your stomach with it. So I ate it, and it tasted sweet as honey in my mouth. And in Matthew 15, verse 17, don't you see that whatever enters your mouth goes into the stomach, then out of the body? There's a common statement that says, whatever goes in hot will come out hot. So just bear that in mind for those who like hot food, spicy food. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 18, it says, the food for the stomach and the stomach for the food, but God will destroy them both. The body is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Proverbs 18:20, from the fruit of his mouth, a man's stomach is filled. With the harvest from his lips, he is satisfied.
So patients, we got a comment in Facebook from Loudest Artificial, I think just agreeing with you, saying fruits and veggies every day.
Well, they can disagree. However,
I'm saying that they're probably agreeing with what you're saying.
Oh, they're agreeing.
They're probably
okay.
agreeing.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're comment saying fruits and veggies every day.
Every day. Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. Yes, certainly we need fruit and vegetables every day because they are not, the vitamins are not stored anywhere. If we do not eat them, then we will suffer a deficiency and our bodies goes through problems. But we can also find some references to digestion from some books in the spirit of prophecy. And my favorite book is Counsels on Diets and Foods. I would urge each one of you to take some time and read the whole book. But on digestion, check the references that I've put over there. They're quite interesting. And Counsels on Diet and Food also goes further to explain to us how we can mix our food and the combinations that we make. Testimonies, studies on diets and foods, that's a very good reference as well. Child guidance and a call to medical evangelism and health education. If anyone wants more in terms of medical evangelism and how we can eat and mix our food correctly, please send some questions and I'm happy to send information. Just to summarize, as we come to the end, take time to chew your food thoroughly and promote proper digestion. And some food combinations will create gases in the stomach. So watch what you eat and combine them well. Vitamins are required by the body and most cannot be stored. So we need to top them up daily. Try not to eat and drink at the same time, as this affects the work of the salivary amylase and it affects other enzymes as well from digesting your food correctly. So I'm sorry for those that eat with a glass of water on the side. Please, you'll be disrupting the structure of the amylase. So be careful with that. Put it away and drink it after 40 minutes or drink it before. What is some quiz questions, just one last one. What is the #1 health drink created especially to hydrate and cleanse all living things? Is it tea? Is it apple juice? Is it fruit twist? Or is it water?
All right. We've got answers D, water. Yeah, we've got water. Seems to be the comments that we're getting on Zoom. We'll see what Facebook says. Yep, water. Brenda saying water. Loudest is saying pineapple juice.
That wasn't part of the choices.
But then he also says and water.
And water.
Yes, our Zoom participants are saying water all the way. Derek Anthony saying water. Chioma, water. Yeah.
Fantastic. The human body is made up of almost 70% of water, and which should constantly be replenished in order for our bodies and minds to function optimally. Therefore, We need water, as it remains the wonder liquid. It flushes harmful toxins out of the body. It energizes the body, and it keeps the body machinery hydrated. It helps in the aid of digestion. If we do not have water, then our bodies would struggle. If we are eating, resting, and exercising properly, an adequate water intake will also help us to lose weight. Drink water 40 minutes before or after food, not with food, as it can change the digestive enzymes. We have now been educated. Finally, but those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. When we eat correctly, when we do eat the right foods, and we have proper digestion, we will enjoy good health and good nourishment for our bodies. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the digestion honor, and I am looking forward to a lot of you submitting your worksheets, and happy learning and happy changing how you eat. Thank you.